Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here. Today's video is a showdown between three different stickless arcade sticks. We have the original HitBox, the MPress, and the Snackbox Micro. Which one of these is gonna win? Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, I have full reviews of the HitBox, the Snackbox Micro, and the MPress already on this channel, and I'll leave them in the description below. I do recommend checking them out. And just a friendly reminder here, these are not the only stickless arcade sticks on the market. These are just the ones that a lot of people have been asking me to compare. These sticks are similar yet very, very different. First up, we have the Snackbox Micro, which has been designed for portability. We have the MPress, which has been designed for tournament play. And we have the original HitBox, the controller that started it all. In terms of thickness, the Snackbox is the smallest, followed by the MPress and then the HitBox. Both the Snackbox and the MPress are under 1 inch thick. The HitBox is over 2 inches thick. In terms of width, from left side of the stick to the right side of the stick, the HitBox is the biggest, followed by the MPress and then the Snackbox Micro. The top of the MPress is spacious. You can easily fit an entire Snackbox Micro on there and then some. You can almost fit 2 Snackbox Micros on there. In fact, if you twist the Snackbox Micro, you can almost fit it lengthwise. The overall face on the MPress is pretty darn big, which leaves a lot of room for your hands. The Micro can also pretty easily fit into a HitBox. And here's what the MPress looks like stacked on top of the HitBox. You can see the extra room available for your hands. In terms of size, the Snackbox Micro is the smallest by far. The MPress isn't too far behind and it'll fit into a backpack without issue. If you're looking for something huge, well, the HitBox is the clear winner there. Now we'll take a look at comfort between the three. We'll start out with the Snackbox Micro. To me, this feels most like an actual keyboard. There is no palm support for your hands, but at the same time here, the Snackbox Micro is thin enough that it doesn't really matter. Using this on a desk and it feels like you're using a keyboard. Place this on your lap and it feels like you've got a keyboard on your lap. Overall, despite the small size, I feel this quite comfortable to use. Next up, we have the MPress here, and this has a ton of palm space. There is a ton of space for your hands on this, and some people might really appreciate that. If you're using this on the desk, your palms will probably come in contact with the stick and the stick alone. If this is on your lap, again, your hands are probably going to be resting on the stick. You don't really have to worry about being uncomfortable here. There is something worth noting here. The edges on the MPress and on the Micro are slightly beveled, so there are no real rough edges when you're using this thing, which is nice. Last up, we have the HitBox, and I found this one to be the most uncomfortable out of the three. There isn't a lot of space for your palms, and unlike the Snackbox Micro, the HitBox is raised up quite a bit, so I found my wrists are usually at an awkward angle when I'm using this thing. On top of that, the top layer is not beveled at all. I found the plexiglass to be a little bit sharp and a little bit uncomfortable as well. The clear winners in terms of comfort are the Snackbox Micro and the MPress. The Snackbox Micro is great for people looking for that keyboard experience. If you're looking for palm support and something that's pretty darn stable, then the MPress is the way to go. As for button layouts, this is where things get a little bit interesting. The HitBox and the Snackbox Micro have very similar button layouts. The MPress has something a little bit different. With the MPress, you get a Vuelix layout. Overall, for this one, it'll be a matter of personal preference. Some people like the Vuelix layout. It's very popular in fight sticks. Some people like the standard HitBox layout. For me, I do prefer the HitBox layout and the Snackbox Micro layout. I find they fit my hands very well, but at the end of the day, again, this is completely personal preference. If you are curious, I did take a measuring tape to measure how wide these buttons are apart, and they're all pretty similar. The HitBox here is a little bit over 7.5 inches from side to side. The MPress is almost the exact same, and so is the Snackbox Micro, so for button spacings, they're all pretty similar. Now for buttons, this is where things get really interesting. For the HitBox, it comes with standard Sanwa buttons, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on those, considering I don't have standard Sanwa buttons in my HitBox. I've changed them out for gamer fingers. But the Snackbox Micro here and the MPress have some very unique buttons. Both the Snackbox Micro and the MPress use micro switches that you might find in a keyboard. The Micro uses Kale switches, and the MPress uses full-size Cherry MX switches. The button tops are also considerably different. The MPress has button tops very similar to a Sanwa. They're convex and they're smooth. The Snackbox Micro though has concave buttons, they dip in and they do have a rough texture. In terms of how the buttons feel, the Snackbox Micro feels a lot different than any other fight stick I have. The MPress does a really great job at replicating that arcade feel. The top row of buttons on the MPress, and on the HitBox for that matter, are standard sized buttons. They feel the exact same as every other button on the controller, and these buttons are used for start, select, and things like touchpad. On the Micro here, they're a little bit different. They're these little tiny nubs. In my opinion here, the top row of buttons on the Snackbox Micro are not as good as the HitBox and on the MPress. Part of this is the size limitation on the Snackbox Micro, and I don't normally use these buttons that often, but when I do use them, I'm kind of reminded that they're not the best. In terms of raw performance, the MPress is one of the fastest arcade sticks that I've ever used, and this is because of the design of the case. The case partially holds down the buttons, which shortens up the travel distance. The result, the buttons don't require much force or much travel distance at all in order to activate. They're incredibly quick and incredibly sensitive. The MPress uses a Brook UFB and the Micro uses a Brook board with custom firmware. Both of these boards are pretty good and pretty quick. For the overall winner in the button category, this is pretty difficult to choose. If you like standard arcade buttons, go for the HitBox. It uses standard Sanwa buttons. If you like very fast performing buttons, if you're looking for performance, then go with the MPress. If you're looking for a unique feel, then the Snackbox Micro might be up your alley. For me personally, I like all three types of buttons, but I did swap out my Sanwas for gamer finger buttons on my HitBox, and those have Cherry MX switches, so by default I'm kind of leaning towards the MPress here. But I really like the button tops on the Snackbox Micro. I like that concave feel, I like the rough button feel, and I like the layout. So this one is a bit of a toss-up. Now let's talk about customization, how you can change up each of these sticks to your liking. We'll start out with the Micro. At the time of filming, there's only 3 things you can change up right now. The first thing are the kill switches. You can change them up for other kill low profile switches and really change how the buttons feel. You can also swap out the bottom plate of the Snackbox Micro with something called the heavy metal plate. This will make your Micro over 8.5 times more heavy. It's a solid piece of stainless steel. Last up, you can apply a custom skin to the top of this, kind of like what Artorias Sakai did here, and I think this looks great. On a side note though, the Micro is the only one out of these 3 to feature built-in LEDs, and these LEDs are completely customizable. You can change up the color, you can change up the pattern. You can really change how this stick looks, especially in the dark. Now moving on to the MPress, just like the Micro, you can change up the micro switches on this fight stick, but instead of Kale, you have Cherry MX. Changing these up, just like on the Micro, will completely change how this fight stick feels. You can also customize the color of the PCB and the button caps that you wish to use. For artwork on the MPress, you actually have quite a bit of option here. Since this uses multiple layers of plexiglass, you can have artwork on multiple layers and give yourself a 3D effect. You can see here I've got stuff printed on the top layer of the plexi, on the bottom layer of the plexi, and directly on the PCB. Overall, this can lead to some really interesting effects and make your fight stick really stand out. And since the MPress has acrylic on both the top and the bottom, you can also put artwork on the bottom and really make this unique. Now moving on to the HitBox, and to me the HitBox is kind of like a blank canvas. You can change out the artwork if you want. You can change out the buttons if you want. The inside of the HitBox has a ton of room to change up a bunch of different things. You can change up the PCB, you can change up the wiring. I use my HitBox to test out different components because it's very easy to do. Between the HitBox, the MPress, and the Snackbox Micro, I find the HitBox to be the most customizable. Now with that being said, let's talk about manufacturing upgrades, and we'll start out with the HitBox. Now my HitBox is a few years old and things have changed on it since then. They've added in a detachable cable that you can see on the right, and here's a better look at it. And on the bottom, they've also added a non-slit base. But other than that and some other subtle tweaks here, the HitBox has largely stayed the same. I guess the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Moving over to the Snackbox Micro, which is still a pretty new stick overall. Since it came out, they created the optional heavy metal plate. and they've just switched over to injection molded buttons. Rumor has it that these new buttons will have different color options. And on top of that, they're actively trying to tweak and improve the Micro, so I don't think we've seen its final form yet. Last up, we have the MPress. Like the Micro, this is a fairly new stick. It's actually the newest out of the three. Also, just like the Micro, there are a ton of rumors about stuff going on behind the scenes for this MPress. All you really have to do is follow the Paradise Arcade Twitter account, and they let out a lot of spoilers. So in terms of future improvements, customizability, and options, both the MPress and the Snackbox Micro seem to be the clear winners here. Both of them are being actively developed for, whereas the HitBox is largely just staying the same. Now that might not be a bad thing to some people, but to me the HitBox is starting to feel a little bit outdated by comparison. Last up, let's talk about the durability. Two of these sticks have the reputation of being some of the most durable sticks on the market. The MPress has been run over with a car and it still works. The plexiglass didn't crack at all, and that's really impressive. I'm not even joking here. Watch them take out this MPress and it's still in working condition with no cracks. The Snackbox Micro was also run over with a vehicle and it didn't break. They used a pickup truck here. They used two wheels. It didn't crack. It didn't break. It was still fully functional afterwards. And moving on to the HitBox, I am 99% sure that the HitBox wouldn't survive being run over with a vehicle. I'm not going to try this on my own HitBox, but if you want to try it on yours, go nuts. So overall, in terms of durability, the Snackbox Micro and the MPress win hands down. In terms of compatibility, the MPress uses the Brook UFB, and the Brook UFB is compatible with the Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, Xbox 360, PS4, PS3, PC, Wii U, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation Classic, and Sega Genesis Classic. The Snackbox Micro is compatible with the PC, PS3, PS4, and Nintendo Switch, whereas the HitBox is only compatible with the PS4 and PC. It's the least compatible out of the entire group. So in terms of overall compatibility, the MPress is the clear winner, followed by the Snackbox Micro, and in last place, the HitBox. Now let's take a look at the prices, and we'll start out with the HitBox. The HitBox is priced at $199.99, so $200. The Micro is $5 cheaper, well $499 if you want to be technical, and this comes in at $195. The MPress at the time of filming is currently $225, the most expensive out of the three. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for, and I'm sure some of you have skipped right to the end of this video for the results. I'll start out with the HitBox. So the HitBox, in my opinion, I'd recommend it if you're really into customizations, if you really want to make something your own, you want to customize absolutely everything about it. I mean, I've ripped out the PCB in the standard HitBox and replaced it with a Brook board. I also couldn't tell you how many times I've opened up my HitBox to swap out parts, to swap out buttons, to swap out components. The HitBox has been one of my go-to sticks for testing out different things, and that's because it's incredibly easy to work with. If you're into more or less a tried and true design, if you like the steady eddy of sticks, if you like one of the original innovators, then the HitBox might be for you. But I will say here, it is starting to feel a little bit long in the tooth. It's starting to feel outdated when compared with the MPress and the Snackbox Micro, because nothing really has changed on this for a number of years. They've made some minor tweaks, but no real major overhauls in the overall design. Now, if you're a competitive player, you're looking for a controller that will give you the biggest edge possible. You're looking for something that is built for performance. Then I would check out the MPress. In my opinion, this is geared toward the competitive player. If you play in tournaments, even if you travel, because this thing is very portable, the MPress is probably what you should be considering. The MPress is very quick, it's responsive, it's durable, and it's highly compatible. If you're looking for one stick that can kind of do it all, then you should check out the MPress. It's a powerhouse. Last up, if you're in the market for something small, compact, portable, something that travels extremely well, something that's very convenient, something that performs well, something that's durable, something that's kind of quirky, you might want to check out the Snackbox Micro. As much as I love and respect the HitBox, these two controllers here I find do a better job of being stickless arcade sticks. And that's because I find the HitBox is a little bit outdated. Now, choosing between these two is incredibly difficult. And I get asked a lot, should I pick up the MPress or should I pick up the Snackbox Micro? And my answer to that would be, it depends. It completely depends on what you're going for here. These sticks are very different and they serve very different purposes in my opinion. Instead, what I would recommend doing is getting an idea of what you're looking for. Watch my review videos and then make an educated decision. At the end of the day, if you choose the Snackbox Micro, you won't be wrong. It's a great stick. If you choose the MPress, you won't be wrong. It's also a great stick. I wholeheartedly recommend both of these, so just choose what you want. But anyways, that is all I've got for today. Let me know your thoughts on the Snackbox Micro, the MPress, and the HitBox in the comments below. Which one is your favorite? If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Thank you everyone, take care.